When you first approach a dock under the water like the one here, these are typical North American, Minnesota boat docks. They house big bass year round. Well, not in the winter maybe with the ice, but outside of that, they're always bass under docks in Minnesota. You can see when you pull up to a dock, they don't look that big. Well, let's look what's under the water. Let's look at all these hard targets that you can actually find when you're bass fishing, when you're pulling up on these docks. There's a half a dozen tires underneath this dock that's out of the water. We're just getting ready to put it in. You got poles, you'll have chains, all these spots right here. You get to the boat lift. Look at how big the boat lift is. I mean, it's complex. You got pipes that run underneath here, beams, tires, chains, all kinds of areas for bass to get underneath and to ambush their prey. Biggest thing is when you come up, maybe it's just not as simple as one skip into the boat lift or one skip onto the platform of the dock. Maybe you actually need to sit there and figure out what are they holding on. Are they sitting on these tires? This is a great spot. A lot of times that tire makes a hollow area underneath or makes like a little bit of a hole, and it gives them a spot to sit next to and a little hole from last year's where the tire was the year before. Great spots to catch bass. Put a jig on each one of those going around and you'll figure out where the bass are real quick on your body of water. If you're going to be a good boat dock fisherman, you have to learn to make the cast. This is something I've done since I was a little kid, sitting in my front yard, flipping and pitching the jig into a hula hoop, and then coming all the way up here, up to our family cabin, and practicing the sidearm skip underneath docks off of this very dock. I'd practice underneath the lift and try to get every single one of these corners along this dock until I felt it was something I was good at it. Practice makes perfect, and I like to keep with a setup. This is one of the most traditional setups a guy could use, a 7-foot heavy action rod. In my case, I'm using a MHX MB 844. This is a 7-foot heavy action rod with the Shimano Chronarch 100D7. It's got a 7-speed. Make that skip, get that bite, set the hook, and I got the speed to get that fish out of those chains and underneath that dock. I'm using 20-pound Seeger Tatsu fluorocarbon. That's the line I like to use for this. Very abrasion resistant, limp. It gets underneath them docks and stays relatively tangle free in your reel. The jig, man, I'm using a Outcast finesse jig, and one thing I love to use, especially this time of year, is just a little small reaction ovation smallie beaver. It's got a great action to it. Bass love to eat beavers, and the flat side on this allows me to skip this jig up underneath there. Sit here, make a game of it, get up to a dock. Practice makes perfect, and nothing's better than repetition. When I'm playing the game, I like to do a point system. One pass under a dock equals 1 point. I try to go up as many times as I can before I finally stub my toe. Then I'll rip my backlash out and start over again at 0. The sidearm cast, probably the hardest to get down. My key to you is more wrist and a lot less effort. Makes it skip considerably well. Short range pit skips like that are always key. I got it underneath the dock, back past the chain, and I'll sit there and try to go the further the skip, all the way back, try to get back into the back lift. That's always a good one. And further down like that, once you get that, it's all wrist. Once you get them casts accurate, those are what you're looking for. Those will make you a lot better of a boat dock fisherman and a lot better fisherman as a whole. Practice these tips and get yourself out there, do a little dock fishing.